first of all, we're going to kick off. I'm Sophie, Diageo. We're hopefully going to have a fun chat around ESG and share with you what we do, what our companies do, and then maybe get some questions. So, Rémi, you better tell everyone who your company is, because it's Scibids, right? And how you founded it and your whole story. Because this at the festival, we've been hearing AI, we've been hearing a lot about ESG agendas, creativity, media. Go for it, Rémi. Tell us what you've done.
Well, thanks, Sophie. I'm very excited to be here with you for this chat. Maybe Scibids is a little less well-known than Diageo and was less involved in last night, but still, I'll try to explain what we do. So actually, Scibids, I founded the company 7 years ago, and we are basically an AI company. And we actually are optimizing all the digital campaigns and working with amazing brands like Diageo in particular to help them reach their goals in terms of advertising. And so the story started about 7 years ago. So I was doing my PhD in machine learning and really working in a media agency in the meantime. And in terms of optimization, also comparing to my previous experience in quantitative finance, it was quite clear that there were a lot of things to improve. And so very naively, we started the business on that assessment. And in particular, one of the main ideas behind it is that, well, at the time, optimizing media campaigns, it was based on clicks, on visits, or things that were not really what actually advanced advertisers like Diageo are looking for when they are doing marketing. So today, if you ask advertisers what they are looking for performance, but they're also looking for being progressive in their media buying, and they're also looking for things very important like sustainability, which is the topic of this chat. And so I think it's a very good segue to ask you, Sophie, what are your ESG agenda with Diageo?
Sure. I think it's kind of extraordinary that Rémi founded this company that is about media trading, right? AI, and has sustainability at the heart of it 7 years ago. So I just want to go, well done, mate.
Thank you.
Because I definitely wasn't thinking about that stuff 7 years ago. I think that's when I started at Diageo. So yeah, Diageo is very, very, very firm on its ESG agenda. I have to say, it comes right from the top. Ivan Menendez set the agenda right up there with performance, and we're very clear on our 2030 goals. They line up to the UN goals, and they go across the areas of social responsibility and educating people around that. Very clear agenda against inclusivity and diversity, and then a very, very clear agenda against grain to glass and sustainability. We've got some, I work in the whiskey business, so I'll kind of kick into the work that we're doing and the goals that we have around there. Really, when you think about what our agenda is to use water efficiently, reduce our carbon emissions, and do that across Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3. So a really awesome way to think about it is if you take a brand like Bullet, we have carbon neutral distillery, and then we try and be sustainable by design all the way through our value chain. I think one of the really, because it's, we can all sit up here and sort of state all our goals and quotes. I think one of the really great things about our journey at the moment is, how we're digging into Scope 3 and how we're thinking about how we can have impact brand by brand and across how our brands activate from thinking about packaging in our business. I mean, if you think about our business, it's all about the bottle and how you receive the bottle and the premiumness of the experience around the bottle. Like, what can we do in packaging that really disrupts? You'll see us get into different formats around this. It's coming soon, like recyclable glass. I was actually in an elevator at the Martinez yesterday, and Chad from Absolute happened to jump in the elevator with me and gave me the biggest compliment, which was to say that they were thinking about a paper bottle, and he was totally inspired by the work done by Diageo. And I thought, that's awesome. You know, so just an aside note, like this kind of agendas bring people together to change the impact of categories, which we're excited about. But yeah, thinking about packaging, like, is it recyclable glass? Is it paper bottles? How do you get them down the line? What are we doing with fixtures, with outer packaging, getting into more recyclable materials around that? It's a huge area of focus for innovation. I'd also say, how do we go to market? Like recycle, reuse, what do these experiences look like? We just did a pilot in Chicago, which is a program called Don't Trash Glass, which is a really fun on-premise program and Smirnoff piloted it, where we go around to the on-premise and collect the glass to take it back to our supply site and then reuse that for packaging. I think, you know, globally around the world, we've worked with people like EcoTotes and Loop to get into how we can just actually minimize our impact right the way through the eco chain of getting our products to distributors, into retail or into on-premise, how consumers interact with them, and then how we refill and cycle. So, you know, we're doing a lot in Scope 1 and Scope 2. That's within our immediate power, and that's happening. The big area that needs radical creativity, innovation, and new partnerships is Scope 3. And that's the biggest area that we have to start to think about, and we need help doing that. So I hope, Dilly, that helps.
Yeah.
It's a bit long, wasn't it, Rémi?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Why don't you talk about some of the stuff you're doing with us? Because I think that's really...
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, I think this is very related to what you just described. I think the realization for us as well, I mean, because we're an AI company, so, you know, why are we talking about sustainability today? Is because actually when we work with ambitious brands like Diageo, we see that there are many objectives they are going after on the media part, which is like you want to deliver a budget, but you want performance, and you want also sustainability, and you want to hit you know, some progressive objective, and you want you want media quality and being fraud free and something that's suitable and brand safe, you know. And for a long time, the industry has basically asked this ambitious advertiser to choose, you know, between one KPI or the other. So if you want to be performant, you have to accept maybe not to be very brand safe, or if you want sustainability, this will cost you a lot in terms of performance. And I think what's really exciting for us is that we really try to make sure that actually, well, advertisers don't have to choose, and they can really hit their KPIs, and they can actually, find the right weight of, you know, what each objective is worth to them. So, for instance, things we are doing with leading advertisers is to optimize to a carbon-adjusted cost per sale. Okay, so like you want to have the lowest cost per sale, but you consider that every carbon which is linked to the impression of the campaign. Okay, so effectively it has to be compensated to, let's say, $100 a ton of carbon, and so this gives you a good trade-off between buying a very performing inventory or being an inventory which is very clean. And I think that's one of the good ways to think about actually hitting several goals at the same time. And this is where AI can help is basically to say, well, really having advertisers in control of what they are trying to achieve in the media space, which is, you know, as we know, all quite complicated, and you have to take billions of decisions every day in the buying platforms, and really making that a reality.
It's pretty awesome. So, Rémi, can you tell us a little bit about the type of clients you have? Like, who's really at the forefront of this space and understanding it? And who you're getting the most traction with right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. I think again, it relates to what I just said. I think what's really, you know, a very good customer for us are advertisers that think very hard about what they are trying to achieve with their media buying, because it's actually quite easy just, you know, to pick a simple KPI, say, well, okay, all my media buying I'm going to optimize towards visit or towards like a pixel on a website. But as soon as you try to integrate a bit more in your marketing strategy, what you are buying on the buying platform, on the demand side platforms, on the social platforms, then actually you're starting to have to solve quite complex problems where you have a lot of trade-off between different KPIs, and that's where we have the most value.
Okay, so we're going to do like an open mic thing because I know a lot of you have had like people just talk at you all week. So you've got me here from Diageo on our ESG agenda and Rémi here doing some pretty radical stuff. We thought we'd open it up for questions.
Questions going. Okay, we got one here.
So I know that everyone's been talking a lot about generative AI here at Cannes this year, and Rémi, you certainly build AI for a living, and you have a PhD in AI. What do we need to know about generative AI in media buying and brand building, or AI in general? Maybe even generative AI might not be the right thing for that. What can you tell us about that?
I think that's a great question. I think, AI, it's a bit hard to define. So I have a PhD in AI, and when people ask me what is AI, can you explain? Well, I say, I have to think because just AI is a very broad term. It encompasses a lot of different methods, a lot of different use cases. There is a lot of noise about AI these days. I think the main thing. The main misconception about AI is that when people think about AI, they sometimes think about a general artificial intelligence, so something that would, replace humans, or like you see a movie with Will Smith purchased by, followed by killer robots, and you say, okay, that is AI. Actually, that's not at all. And I think AI is like, if you look really at the very important things that were solved by AI these last few years, at each time these were very specific methods. The AI that beats, the best grandmaster at chess or at Go is completely different from, ChatGPT, from, the AI that will predict the World Cup final winner. By the way, it should have in France. So all these methods are very different, meaning that when you think about what AI can bring to your business, I rather prefer to think about an evolution of automation. So, like, 1 century ago, business started to be able to automate very simple tasks. If you're able to give a few rules, if you're able to give a recipe to a machine, then you can automate simple tasks. And I think what's changed with AI really is that, actually now you can automate tasks even when you are not able to give a few rules or to give a clear recipe on how to automate it. You can just throw a bunch of data and have a learning system that will learn how to automate tasks. And I think for businesses, for not be in terms of, trying to think about what they can do with AI in their businesses, I think it's much more useful to think about what are the non-trivial tasks that could be automated in the business, and what are the specific AI methods that can be built or about to do that.
So I have a question. As we're talking about sustainability, even though you started what you're doing 7 years ago, Diageo obviously has been around, it feels like we're just starting to look at sustainability when it comes to the role of media, advertising. Do you see a standard being set at some point where we'll actually have transparency across the board as to how sustainable advertising efforts are? Is that something that you think is important and could happen?
That's an awesome question.
Yeah, I think. So first, measurement is being built as we speak, and that's the very first step. So there are great companies out there that are really trying to measure exactly how much an impression is generated in terms of carbon footprint. There are first things about the publisher and the domain, and where the electricity is produced, and then there are things about the creative, the format. If it's a very big video or a small display banner, it's not the same thing.
What's the dirtiest format?
Oh, come on! I heard.
No, go ahead.
No.
It's very hard to define because, like, obviously, if you have a big video, it's going to take more resources, but maybe you buy one instead of 1,000 very small ads. So then you have to compare. I think that depends a lot on the domain.
But I do think it's an awesome question. We were meeting with Scope 3 yesterday, and they were talking about this exact thing, which is, I think a lot of us are not really even educated on what that means, right? Which is, it's all about how many units are sitting on a site, how that site loads, and how much emissions come off of that experience. And there are cleaner places to put your stuff. I think from a brand perspective, and when I think about my role on the North American Steer Code for ESG at Diageo and across whiskies, if we're really straight about it, we've been doing waterfalls to measure carbon emissions across our manufacturing, our route to market, how we develop our products. And now is the time to actually put a pillar around how our marketing goes to market, right? Because, it's not going to be good enough to be driving that agenda in regenerative ag and everything else that we're doing and not be thinking about the impact of our marketing. So I think it's going to become a much hotter conversation. One of the things that I think needs to happen is, data collection and measurement around the impacts of all the levers you can pull. I'll give you a really polarizing example. Is my American Forest partnership with Bullet, where we replenish and replant white oak, doing as much to reduce our carbon emissions as perhaps partnering with our glass companies and looking at their furnaces? So the big piece of work that's going on right now is just getting enough data to be able to truly measure, if you pull that lever, what impact it's going to have across the total entire business in relation to emissions. So I think data and measurement, and then more people realizing how much this part of the equation can pay back to reducing their footprint is going to get more and more focus.
That's really cool. I see there's another question here. Hold on.
Doesn't seem fair for you to have to walk all that way. Thanks so much for the conversation. I suppose it's to the comment around creating a central governing hero metric or a way of measuring. I'd love to hear a little bit more. It's maybe a question for you, Sophie, about where sustainability is a brand prerogative versus an industry prerogative, or maybe put another way, how you are partnering with players across the ecosystem, either within the bev alc industry or through end-to-end your ecosystem, and what your expectations are of partners in terms of sharing data and starting to embed common sustainability goals.
That's a massive question, but thank you. So I'm going to give it a go and try and answer it, and if I don't, you can hold me accountable. I mean, I think for us, I'll do a call out to Ivan, our global CEO, who we unfortunately lost recently. Very dear to our heart, and has built a culture at Diageo which is around developing 2030 Spirit of Progress, Diageo and Society goals. And they really run across the entire business, from social responsibility. And in fact, when you talk about industry impact, Diageo was one of the first people to really put a code of marketing on top of the business, which made sure that we went to market in a very responsible way. So in some ways, way back when, we led that, and that is now a very established industry thing that everybody's on board on. When I think about I&D, I think, again, it's about having the goals, but it's not just about what we're doing internally and publishing numbers and sharing numbers and statistics. It's also about investing in platforms that you can drive social impact in. So if I think about a couple of things that we do that could very much be shared initiatives, like one of our marketing partnerships with United Masters is all about bringing up underrepresented independent artists and actually giving them audiences, giving them jobs, creating alongside them. And that's something that a lot of our competitors are getting involved in, that we worked with in the beginning, but that is a totally kind of inclusive platform for anybody else to get involved in and drive. If I think about Don't Trash Glass, right? The initiative we just did in Chicago is about going around to the on-premise, collecting glass, and then bringing it back and reusing that glass in our product. That can be something that all of our competitors can get involved in. We're testing it out, right? Clearly, there are logistics to that will be totally dependent on your own supply chain, but that's something that people can have a look at and get on board. I think if you look at companies like EcoTote, which are dealing with the whole refill, recycle units, so that you're basically reducing your footprint of getting products around the country, they're working with lots of other people, Bacardi, everyone. So, we have, I think one of the important things to getting that done actually is having the right resourcing capability internally. We have spent a lot of time resourcing up, like Jay, who's a partner of mine, sits in our corporate responsibility group, driving kind of legislation and getting things working so that we can actually maximize our impact. But what you really need to do is put the focus of the goals and the measurement tools and the capacity and resource into the business and make it a priority for everybody. So I think another part of your question was, where does marketing start and other people stop? One of the things about driving a good ESG agenda is it is a cross-functional effort. It will never just be a marketing effort. It has to be a cross-functional effort. And I think you best see that demonstrated when you take a brand like Bullet, right? Who is, carbon neutral distilleries and then runs the message of being sustainable by design right the way through their cultural partnerships and collaborations, how they do experiential with replanning and working on tree equity, and then now hopefully into our packaging that you're going to see come down the line in future innovation. So I guess what I'd say is we need to do better coming together as a category and working on specific agendas. I think you're going to start seeing that. Like, as I said, I was in the lift with Chad from Absolute. They're working on a paper bottle. We're working on a paper bottle. As we all start to do this, you're going to see that come through. And then I think it is absolutely a cross-functional business effort. And then brands need to drag it through the line. You can't just have one part of your marketing doing it and not the rest of it. And not be afraid to learn too. I mean, I will say one of the things that I love about Diageo is they don't mind sending us off to learn. And one of the most brilliant things they recently did was put all of executives through Oxford Science Business School class on learning about ESG and sustainability particularly. I had to go back to school for 4 months on top of my day job, and it was pretty tough. But I came out of it thinking the way I looked at it was far more simplistic than the way I needed to look at it. So I think investing in learning too for all of us is critical.